intend on showing leadership to make sure that education is affordable to not only current students like me, but to prospective students as well.
Hi, Jack. My name is Jason. I'm from New Westminster, Port Moody, Port Coquitlam. My question is about the Climate Accountability Act. I guess I just want to know, where do we go from here?
I'm going to go reverse order on this one. First, Tim, your question. It's outrageous that students are having to bear such a debt burden nowadays, and it's literally keeping people from pursuing post-secondary education. And yet, when you look at the unemployment statistics, it's very clear that those who have been able to find their way through some post-secondary education of some sort or another are much more likely to be employed. There's actually growth happening in our economy here in some of the areas that need those kind of workers. So if we're not allowing the folks to get the education they need for those kind of jobs, well, the investments are going to go to other countries that are. And that would be a big, big mistake, because our future in terms of economy is not just about resources and raw materials and sending it off to somebody else to turn into something fancy and productive and complex and a beautiful manufactured good. We should be doing more of that here. We've got the best manufacturing workers in the world, but we've got to keep the education programs on the go. And that means that we need, finally, to have legislation that lays out the role of the Government of Canada to ensure that post-secondary education is available to the young people of this country. And we set out, just like Tommy did with the Health Act, we set out to create a piece of legislation for post-secondary education. And I am proud to tell you that that piece of legislation has been brought before the House by the New Democrats. It's enjoying support all across the country. And our champion of this is the youngest woman in the House of Commons, who is also a student herself. I think it's going to take her a little while longer to finish her PhD, because she's now the Member of Parliament for the whole of Northern Manitoba. It's a huge riding, and she's driving that through the House of Commons right now. And that piece of legislation will set us on the track that you have in mind. It's the vision of Canada that we share. Thank you for that question, Tim, and good luck with your question. The Climate Change Accountability Act was a bill. It is a bill that we first wrote. It actually was, I sponsored it the first time around. It went through the House of Commons. It was, the Conservatives tried to block it in every way. It set targets based on what the Nobel Peace Prize winning scientists of the world had established were the reductions that we needed to avoid some cataclysmic consequences of climate change by the middle of this century. And it set out the targets, and it also said that any government, no matter who is in power, would have to submit reports on the state of progress that we're making. What are the plans that are on the go? How much reduction have we achieved? What is the next target going to be? And it would be reviewed by an arm's-length group called the Round Table on Environment and Economy, and then would be submitted to Parliament for a thorough debate and so that all Canadians could see it. And that's what the bill was. Now, I don't see anything particularly threatening in that bill, but I guess some of the lobbyists for big oil must have, and they got to Stephen Harper and his people, and it went through all the way through the House of Commons, private members' bill. We were the first country in the world to adopt to our legislature those targets. Prior to the big conference in Copenhagen, we were the first country in the world. Unfortunately, we have this anachronism from history called the Senate, and the Senate had to adopt it first. And they didn't get around to it. Well, they only work 3 days a week now. You know, for executive level pay, I might say. And they didn't get around to it, and Stephen Harper called a premature election a year before the date that he had set. I'm sure they might have got around to it, and it might have been passed and be law today if Stephen Harper hadn't broken his own election law and called that early election. So we came back after that election, being New Democrats, you know, we don't give up. We made that our top priority private members bill for the next session. And it went in under the name of Bruce Heyer. And it went all the way through the process again, with more filibusters and every kind of attempt by the Conservatives to stop it. But it passed again. And it went to the Senate. And this time, the Senate was filled with a majority of Harper appointees. And they simply turned out, they didn't even debate it properly. They didn't send it off for any discussion. They didn't want to hear from people like David Suzuki or anybody else. They simply voted it down and killed it. The first time since 1937 that the Senate has killed a bill from the House of Commons, and the first time ever that they've done it from a private member's bill. I say that means the Senate should be abolished.